Listen carefully. Most people think being emotional and vulnerable makes them attractive. They are wrong. True power, true allure comes from restraint. When you detach yourself from the chaos of feelings, when you master your desires instead of letting them control you, you become unpredictable, magnetic, irresistible. Today, I will show you why emotional detachment is into cold. It is the ultimate weapon of influence and attraction. Power lies not in shouting, in panic, or in reacting at the first sign of threat. It lies in calm. Those who are ruled by emotion, by anger, fear, or desire, are visible to everyone. Their weaknesses are laid bare, their intentions obvious. A man who loses his temper in a moment of frustration is no longer in control. He is now at the mercy of circumstance and the perceptions of others. Calmness, on the other hand, is armor. It shields your mind from distraction, your reputation from scrutiny, and your decisions from being dictated by impulse. When others act hastily, you watch, you analyze, you calculate. You are always 3 steps ahead because your mind is not clouded by the noise of reaction. Calmness creates an aura of authority. People sense it, even if they cannot articulate why. They feel compelled to follow, to trust, to defer to someone who does not flinch, who does not tremble under pressure, who seems unaffected by chaos. This is the silent language of power. You do not have to speak loudly or brandish force. Your presence alone commands respect. In business, in love, in politics, those who remain composed make the rules by which everyone else must play. When a crisis arises, the panicked reveal themselves as weak. They betray their strategy before even a word is spoken. The calm, however, moves deliberately. Every gesture, every word, every pause is calculated. Others may rush, but you act with precision, timing each step to maximum effect. Calmness allows you to observe the true nature of people. The emotional, the reactive, they expose themselves through their responses, their desires, their fears, their ambitions. You gain insight into the human heart, not by shouting or forcing your way, but by standing apart, by being steady while the storm rages. The stronger the pressure, the more valuable calm becomes. It is in moments of chaos, when others crumble, that the calm rise in influence. A person who maintains composure while others panic is perceived as competent, as invincible, as someone who cannot be undermined. That perception alone amplifies your power. Detachment from emotion is not absence of feeling. It is the mastery of it. You do not suppress your reactions. You control when, where, and how they manifest. Anger, desire, joy, these are tools, not shackles. When wielded sparingly, they become instruments to manipulate perception, to bend others toward your will without them realizing it. Calmness also protects against mistakes. Every error made in haste is an opportunity lost. The mind clouded by impulse cannot see the subtle currents of strategy. By remaining composed, you see patterns, anticipate moves, and act with foresight. You are no longer just a participant. You become the architect of outcomes, guiding events with invisible hands. In personal relationships, calmness signals strength. People are drawn to those who do not need constant validation, who do not react with desperation or neediness. Calmness is attractive because it communicates stability, reliability, and self-assurance, traits that are universally respected and desired. Even in confrontation, a calm demeanor unsettles opponents. The reactive expect resistance, they anticipate chaos. When they meet serenity instead, they doubt themselves. They hesitate, they falter, they underestimate your power. You have already won, before any battle begins, simply by maintaining control over yourself. In essence, calmness is a weapon, a shield, and a strategy all at once. It allows you to see clearly, act decisively, and influence silently. It is the hallmark of those who succeed, not by brute force, but by the quiet dominance of self-mastery. In every sphere of life, from the boardroom to the battlefield to the intimate corners of human interaction, those who embody calm dictate the flow of events, and in doing so, command respect, obedience, and ultimately, power. Mystery is a force few understand but everyone responds to. When a person is fully transparent, when their thoughts, emotions, and intentions are laid bare, they become predictable, and predictability is boring. People are drawn to the unknown, to what they cannot fully grasp, to the hints and shadows of someone's true self. Mystery is the subtle art of controlling what others perceive while keeping the full picture just out of reach. It is not about lying or deception. It is about restraint, about revealing only what is necessary to achieve influence. When you allow yourself to be an open book, people quickly learn your patterns, your weaknesses, your triggers. They begin to manipulate you, to anticipate your moves, to take advantage of your predictability. But when you remain enigmatic, they are compelled to pay attention, to wonder, to chase. Curiosity is a primal force. Humans are naturally drawn to that which is hidden, and when a person carries an air of mystery, they ignite desire without saying a word. Mystery is also a shield. By revealing little, you protect yourself from judgment, criticism, and emotional exploitation. Others project their fantasies, their assumptions, and their fears onto you, and in doing so, you control the narrative without speaking. People are not attracted to what they fully understand. They are drawn to what challenges their perception, what invites them to guess, to imagine, to pursue. Every interaction becomes a game, a subtle dance in which they seek to uncover what you choose not to show. The more they wonder, the more they value your presence, and the more power you hold in the relationship. Mystery allows you to be selective, to keep your inner circle tight, to reveal yourself only to those worthy of trust. This selectivity itself increases your allure, because scarcity creates desire. When everyone is accessible, no one is precious. When only a few have glimpsed the real you, you become rare, and rarity is magnetic. In social interactions, mystery keeps you in control. Conversations, body language, even silence can be used strategically. A well-timed pause, a subtle smile, a glance that hints at but does not explain. These are the tools of attraction. They allow you to signal interest without committing, to intrigue without revealing, to guide attention without demanding it. Mystery is not passive, it is active strategy. It is the art of withholding, of creating a tension that others cannot resist resolving. And while they are consumed by curiosity, you remain free, detached, and in command. In matters of desire, mystery is irresistible because it fuels imagination. People are drawn not just to what you are, but to what they perceive you might be. They fill in the gaps with their own interpretations, often idealizing you in ways you may never have intended. This gives you influence over perception itself, which is more powerful than influence over action. Mystery also cultivates respect. When others do not fully know you, they are less likely to underestimate you, manipulate you, or challenge you directly. Uncertainty creates caution, and caution leads them to tread carefully, to defer subtly, and to value your presence more than those whose motives and behaviors are fully exposed. Finally, mystery enhances confidence. When you do not need to explain yourself, when you are comfortable with being unreadable, you radiate self-assurance. People sense that you are in control not only of your actions but of the image you present. That controlled presence is magnetic. It draws attention, sparks desire, and creates influence effortlessly. Mystery is the invisible force that turns ordinary presence into irresistible power. It is the quiet strategic tool of those who know that revealing too much diminishes control, and that the unknown, the hinted at, the unseen, always attracts more than the plainly visible. Desire is a delicate force. The closer you are, the more it diminishes. People often mistake constant availability, constant attention, and constant affirmation for connection. But what they fail to understand is that desire thrives on tension, on anticipation, on the space between presence and absence. When you are always there, when you are too eager to please, too quick to respond, or too ready to offer yourself, desire weakens. It does not grow, it fades. Distance is not rejection. Distance is a tool, a subtle strategy that allows attraction to build naturally. It is the tension that fuels curiosity, the unseen thread that pulls others toward you without force or effort. Humans are wired to pursue what is scarce, what is uncertain, what they cannot fully grasp. When you create space, even unintentionally, you allow that natural instinct to operate. People begin to notice the moments when you are present. They value them more because they are not constant, they are not guaranteed. Scarcity magnifies perception. The less you give, the more they seek. Desire, once kindled, burns brighter in absence than in abundance. The art of distance requires control over impulse. It demands that you restrain your need for approval, your urge to be noticed, and your instinct to fill every silence. When you do not react instantly, when you do not chase, when you do not overexpose yourself, you become an enigma, a figure of intrigue, a presence that lingers in the mind long after you have left. The psychological impact is subtle but profound. Humans remember what they must work to achieve, what requires effort, what is not easily attained. The chase, the uncertainty, the wait, all of these heighten emotional investment and attachment. When desire is balanced with distance, relationships and interactions are transformed. People are not simply accustomed to your presence. They are drawn to it. They plan for it, anticipate it, imagine it. And when they finally engage, the intensity of connection is greater than if everything had been freely available from the start. Distance also protects your own energy. By keeping a measured space between yourself and others, you avoid overextension, avoid emotional exhaustion, and maintain clarity. You do not surrender your autonomy to the whims of someone else's desire. Instead, you preserve control, and in preserving control, you command respect. Desire, when unchecked by restraint, can lead to dependency, obsession, or disappointment. Distance creates balance. It allows relationships, interactions, and influence to exist on your terms rather than being dictated by neediness or compulsion. People are drawn to strength, to confidence, and distance signals both. It shows that you value yourself, that you have standards, that your time and attention are not trivial commodities to be squandered. In every sphere, romance, friendship, business, the principle holds. Too much closeness kills intrigue, and too much availability dilutes influence. By mastering the art of distance, you harness desire instead of being enslaved by it. You transform fleeting interest into persistent longing, casual curiosity into deliberate attention. You turn human nature to your advantage, using the unseen space between interactions to deepen attraction and create a subtle but irresistible pull. Distance also allows for anticipation to grow. People project hopes, fantasies, and expectations onto what they cannot immediately grasp. They fill in the blanks themselves, often embellishing reality with imagination. This makes their emotional investment stronger than if they had complete access from the beginning. In this way, absence does not weaken connection. It strengthens it, making your presence far more impactful than constant exposure ever could. The key is balance. Distance must be intentional, measured, and consistent. It cannot become neglect, indifference, or coldness, for then attraction will wither. It is the deliberate spacing, the controlled pacing, the mastery over impulse that makes desire flourish. In essence, desire is a fire, and distance is the wind that fans it, making it burn brighter, hotter, and more persistently than proximity ever could. By understanding this principle, you transform attraction from something fleeting and superficial into something deep, magnetic, and strategically advantageous. Control over others begins with control over oneself. Those who are ruled by impulse, by fleeting desires, by anger or fear, are easily manipulated, easily predicted, and ultimately powerless. Self-mastery is the foundation upon which influence is built. When you master your own mind, your own body, and your own emotions, you gain a kind of authority that cannot be challenged openly. People sense it even before they understand it. They feel the difference between someone who reacts to circumstances and someone who shapes them. Self-mastery is not denial of emotion. It is direction of it. Anger, passion, jealousy, and desire become tools to be deployed intentionally, rather than wild forces that dictate behavior. Those who cannot restrain themselves are at the mercy of circumstance, enslaved to the whims of others, and vulnerable to every provocation. But when you govern your impulses, when you act deliberately and strategically, you become unpredictable to those who would try to influence you. They cannot anticipate your next move because it is born of choice, not reaction. This unpredictability is power. The mind that is disciplined, the body that is restrained, the emotions that are guided rather than uncontrolled. These together form an armor that cannot be pierced by manipulation, intimidation, or charm. Every decision becomes calculated, every action purposeful, every response measured. Others may rage, plead, or provoke, but you remain steady, observing, analyzing, and deciding with clarity. Self-mastery allows you to set boundaries that others recognize and respect. When you are consistent in your behavior, in your reactions, in your standards, people understand what is negotiable and what is not. They do not attempt to exploit you because they perceive control over yourself, over the situation, over outcomes. In relationships, whether personal or professional, self-mastery signals strength. People are drawn to those who are confident in themselves, who are not desperate for validation, who do not act impulsively. That confidence, born from discipline, commands attention and subtly demands respect. Control over oneself also creates leverage. The more you can restrain desire, delay gratification, or conceal intentions, the more influence you wield. People respond to those who seem guided by purpose, not by emotion, because purpose implies authority. When you act with self-mastery, others unconsciously follow the rhythm you set. You shape conversations, negotiations, and decisions without overt domination because your composure and clarity make others adapt to your lead. Self-mastery extends to perception. Those who govern themselves do not reveal everything. They reveal what is necessary, conceal what is strategic, and project only the image that serves their objectives. This control over what others perceive multiplies the power gained from internal mastery. It allows influence to expand without conflict, without force, and without unnecessary exposure. Mastery also protects against overreaction. Life is full of provocations designed to elicit anger, fear, or rash action. Those who cannot master themselves fall into traps, make mistakes, and provide opportunities for adversaries. Those who are disciplined, however, navigate challenges with foresight, exploiting opportunities while avoiding unnecessary risk. Every moment of restraint, every choice to respond rather than react, strengthens authority and solidifies influence. Finally, self-mastery is cumulative. Each act of control reinforces the next, building momentum that others sense and respect. It creates a reputation of steadiness, decisiveness, and invulnerability. People naturally defer to those who are masterful because they instinctively understand that such individuals are not ruled by whims, and therefore cannot be easily overpowered, deceived, or manipulated. Through self-mastery, one becomes the architect of circumstances rather than their victim. Through control over oneself, one gains control over the environment, over interactions, and over the people who surround them. It is this subtle, invisible power that Machiavelli revered, not the loud, ostentatious display of force, but the quiet, unwavering command of one's own mind and spirit, which in turn bends the world to one's design with effortless authority. Desperation is visible to all, and visibility is weakness. When a person acts out of need, urgency, or fear of loss, they broadcast their vulnerabilities to the world. People instinctively sense it, and human nature is such that weakness attracts exploitation. Those who cling, who plead, who overextend themselves in pursuit of approval, affection, or advantage, reveal more than they intend. They surrender power to those who are attentive, calculating, and patient. Avoiding desperation is not merely a tactic. It is a discipline, a philosophy, and a demonstration of strength. When you act without desperation, you communicate that your value is inherent, not contingent on the approval of others. People are drawn to confidence, to composure, and to those who seem untouchable by circumstance. Desperation destroys this aura. It transforms potential influence into pleading, charm into manipulation, and attraction into burden. Those who are desperate often mistake frantic effort for strategy. Yet strategy requires patience, calculation, and timing. Desperation is impulsive, strategy is deliberate. By mastering yourself and your reactions, by restraining your need for validation or immediate gratification, you maintain leverage. You allow events to unfold on your terms, not on the terms dictated by your anxieties or cravings. In relationships, whether personal or professional, desperation pushes people away. Neediness is unattractive because it signals dependence, lack of control, and insecurity. When someone senses that you are desperate for attention, approval, or success, they lose respect, and respect is the currency of influence. By contrast, the person who demonstrates self-possession, who acts with measured intention, commands admiration and draws others toward them without effort. Avoiding desperation also strengthens perception. People interpret calm restraint as strength, stability, and competence. Even in moments of uncertainty, those who are composed project confidence. Others hesitate to challenge them, unsure of the limits, unsure of the depth of their control. Desperation removes this ambiguity. It reveals fear, impatience, and weakness, giving others an advantage they would not have otherwise. In negotiation, desperation is fatal. Those who show eagerness or vulnerability are quickly taken advantage of. Their concessions are extracted, their opportunities reduced. The one who remains unattached, who acts with patience and precision, holds the upper hand. In social dynamics, the same principle applies. People respect and desire those who are unshakable, who do not grovel, who do not compromise their dignity for fleeting approval. Avoiding desperation is a form of power because it establishes boundaries that others cannot ignore. It signals that you are in control of your own choices, your own emotions, and your own destiny. You cannot be manipulated easily, and this in itself is magnetic. Desperation often stems from internal insecurity, from an inability to tolerate uncertainty or delay. By cultivating patience, confidence, and self-reliance, you remove the triggers that provoke desperate behavior. You create a presence that is both magnetic and unassailable, a force to which others unconsciously defer. Even desire itself is amplified when it is not pursued with urgency. People are drawn to what they cannot fully command, to the presence that is not desperate for acknowledgement or affection. By avoiding desperation, you allow relationships, opportunities, and influence to develop naturally, on your terms. You convert potential weakness into strategic advantage, allowing others to chase, to wonder, to respect, and to value you in ways that desperation could never achieve. Avoiding desperation is not passivity. It is not indifference or neglect. It is the deliberate cultivation of composure, patience, and confidence, combined with the subtle art of influence. It is the understanding that power flows to those who remain unshaken, who act with foresight, and who resist the urge to bend under pressure. In essence, avoiding desperation is the silent, invisible mastery of human perception, the cultivation of authority without aggression, and the creation of attraction through restraint, patience, and controlled presence. Confidence through detachment is the cornerstone of influence, attraction, and control. Those who are tied too tightly to outcomes, to approval, to the fleeting whims of others, reveal a dependence that weakens their presence. True power does not stem from constant involvement or overinvestment. It emerges from the ability to engage fully while remaining unshaken, from caring deeply without being consumed, from acting decisively without being enslaved to emotion. Detachment is not apathy, it is clarity. It is the ability to observe, to act, and to influence without being clouded by fear, desire, or desperation. When you are detached, you do not cling to validation, recognition, or affection. You do not allow rejection, criticism, or uncertainty to destabilize your sense of self. In this freedom lies confidence, a quiet strength that radiates outward and commands attention. People sense it instinctively. They are drawn to those who are unflappable, who move through the world with purpose and calm, who are not desperate for approval yet fully present in every interaction. Detachment allows you to act with precision, choosing your engagements, your words, and your gestures intentionally rather than reactively. You do not overexpose yourself. You do not chase what is fleeting. You create a presence that is magnetic precisely because it is measured, controlled, and consistent. Confidence derived from detachment is visible in every nuance, in posture, in tone, in timing. It communicates strength without force, authority without aggression, and allure without effort. Those who cannot master detachment become slaves to circumstance. They are reactive, visible in their needs, and predictable in their responses. Others quickly learn their patterns and exploit them. Detachment transforms you into someone whose actions are guided by strategy, not by impulse, whose decisions are deliberate, not frantic. It allows you to observe human nature with clarity. While others act out of attachment, fear, or desire, the detached individual sees the currents beneath behavior, identifies opportunities that remain hidden to the reactive, and positions themselves to maximize influence. In relationships, detachment enhances attractiveness. People are drawn to those who are confident in themselves, who do not seek constant reassurance, who maintain boundaries while engaging fully. Such presence inspires admiration, intrigue, and respect. Detachment also reduces vulnerability. When you are not emotionally tethered to outcomes, you protect yourself from manipulation, disappointment, and loss of power. You maintain autonomy over your mind, your decisions, and your energy. This self-possession is inherently magnetic because it signals that your worth is not dependent on others' approval or attention. Confidence through detachment also creates resilience. Life is unpredictable, people are fickle, and circumstances shift. Those who are attached are destabilized by change. Those who are detached respond with composure. They navigate challenges with foresight and strategy, unshaken by setbacks, and untempted by trivial successes. In social and professional arenas, detachment allows you to command influence without appearing controlling. You guide perception subtly, drawing people toward your presence rather than forcing interaction. The more you restrain neediness and over-involvement, the more people seek your attention, respect your authority, and value your presence. Detachment turns scarcity into power. By not being overly available, by not being emotionally overinvested, you create a tension that makes others invest in you instead. Your confidence becomes a self-reinforcing force. The more detached and controlled you are, the more others respond with curiosity, desire, and deference. Finally, confidence through detachment is a long-term strategy. It is the cultivation of an inner fortress from which influence, attraction, and authority radiate effortlessly. It allows you to engage fully in the world while remaining untethered to its fluctuations, to act decisively while remaining unshaken, and to attract naturally while maintaining mastery over yourself. It is the ultimate form of personal power, one that commands attention without demanding it, inspires respect without enforcing it, and draws desire without chasing it. In the end, emotional detachment is not coldness, nor is it absence of care. It is mastery, mastery of yourself, of perception, of influence. When you control your desires, temper your impulses, and remain calm amid chaos, you become magnetic, commanding attention without demanding it, shaping events without force. Those who are detached do not chase, do not plead, and do not falter. They inspire respect, intrigue, and desire effortlessly. To be irresistible is not to give everything away, but to give just enough to remain a force that others cannot fully grasp. And in that balance, you hold the true power. Master this art, and you are no longer at the mercy of circumstance. You are the architect of your own influence, allure, and destiny.